Hippity hoppity, don't touch my child's property.
Hello and welcome back. I am your host Nornify on this wonderful journey in which we're going to go into the subreddit of entitled parents. We're going to read some stories. We're going to be like, what are these people? We're going to be like, where have they come from? Who made these people? Why do they get on like this? I have no idea. But we're going to read some stories and enjoy ourselves along the way. Let's get into it. Our first story comes from Aussie Pickle 27. Let my son play that game. Alright, so last week I was on my way to school on the bus. I'm only 14, but I've been taking public transport since I started school. I was seated in the middle of the bus with entitled parent and entitled son in the seat behind me. I had my laptop in my bag and I was pretty bored. About 30 minutes through the trip, I took out my computer after my phone had died and I played a game called Mario. Basically, the original Mario games, but with a portal gun. And I'd run out of lives, which brought me to the menu. I clicked play, and then had the option between 1 and 2 players. I picked player 1, obviously, but then the entitled son must have noticed that there was a 2-player option, and asked his mother if he could play on my computer. The entitled mother said, "Of course," and tapped my shoulder. "Hey, my son wants to use the 2-player mode on your game. You need to share with him." I looked at her, and then at her son, and noticed that he had been eating cheese balls, and his hands were covered in cheese flavouring. I didn't want that all over my arrow keys, and even if he didn't have messy hands, I still would decline. But looking at his hands, I realised I had a good excuse. "Sorry, your son's hands are really messy. I'm sorry, but I don't want a messy laptop," I explained. Entitled mother was having none of that. "But I asked you nicely. And he's really bored. I have some tissues in my bag. He can wipe his hands and then let him play." I was really panicking. "I'm sorry. This computer is meant to be for me, and I'm having a really nice time playing by myself, thank you." At this point, a man who sat behind her explained, "Leave that poor kid alone." He looked like quite a nice grey-bearded man, probably in his late 50s. The entitled mother had turned to him now, her son looking quite grumpy, and he stomped his foot on the ground. The entitled mother said to the man, "You can't tell me or my son what to do." The man said in return, "No, but he can. It's his computer after all." They started to argue, so I took my chance and moved to the front of the bus and put my computer back into my bag and just used my phone for the games. There you go, my little entitled parent encounter. Now, what I'm wondering from this is, how did you play games on your phone when you said your phone died? Okay, so let's just move on to our second post. Entitled Mom doesn't want to pay for her food because it was made by students. This one's by Reddit user The Paper Block. Okay, so this story happened in my school back when I was in 10th grade. In German schools, there's this thing called Parents' Evening. I'm not going to try and pronounce that word because I will get it wrong. Where the parents can talk with the teachers about how their children are doing in school. Our school always offered a buffet, nothing too big. We had coffee and cake and bread rolls. At this evening, which was made by the 10th grade, who got to keep the money they made. When this event occurred, I was giving out coffee and controlling the register, and a girl who I didn't know too well because I didn't have classes with her was giving out cake and bread rolls. Everything was relatively cheap, so we got a lot of customers. One of them was the entitled mother. At first, she seemed nice, just like every other customer. The entitled mother said to me, "Hello? 1 coffee, please." And I said, of course. The entitled mother starts doing something on her phone, me trying to get her attention because she didn't tell me if she wanted milk or sugar. Excuse me? Entitled mother ignores me. Me, even louder. Excuse me, ma'am? The entitled mother, noticeably annoyed. What? Me. Do you want milk or sugar? The entitled mother. Yes, of course. I don't know what she wanted exactly anymore. It isn't that important anyways. I then hand her the coffee and she shouts over to the girl next to me. Oh yeah, and a bread roll for my son. The girl hands the bread roll and the entitled mother walks away. At this point, I'm kind of annoyed because she's looking at her phone and didn't thank us. Then the girl asks me if she handed me the money. I actually forgot about that. Thankfully, she noticed. Me shouting over to her. Excuse me, ma'am? Excuse me. The entitled mother turns around. What do you want? She comes over. I then said to the entitled mother, I think you forgot to pay. The entitled mother responded with, What do you mean pay? I then pointed to the sign that we had up, which stated our prices. The entitled mother responded with, I'm not paying for something that was made by students. School doesn't cost anything, so why should your food cost anything? I'm stunned because I'd never even thought that something like this could happen. I don't really know what to say. Thankfully, the girl steps in. I'm sorry, Mom, but we spent the whole day making this food, and we bought the products ourselves. You have to pay. But why? You're students. You're making this as a school project. I don't have to pay you. You don't get paid for writing tests either. Mom, this isn't a school project. We're making this voluntarily and to earn money. Also, didn't you see the sign? I thought the sign was for people who don't have anything to do with the school. I'm laughing internally. Of course we don't get any people from outside of the school. Mom, we don't really get any people from outside the school. I'm sorry, but you'll have to pay. Well, I don't believe you. Also, even if others have to pay, I should get it for free because my son is so good in school. He always gets straight A's. I know this is really cliche, but she really said that. I decided to step in because the girl doesn't really know what to say anymore. Mom, I'm sorry, but if you don't pay, I'll have to get a teacher. I don't care. I'm in the right here. Go get a teacher if you want to. She then walks away to the tables. Everyone was staring at her already. Me and the girl share a confused look. Then I tell her, I'm going to go and search for a teacher. I searched the whole school for about 10 minutes, but I can't find anybody. They're probably all talking with the parents, so I decide to go to the third principal. He was really cool, and everybody loved him. The other two principals weren't this nice. I knock at his door, and thankfully he's present. I come in and tell him about the lady who didn't want to pay. He then says, Show me where she's sitting. I'm going to go and I'm going to have a talk with her. I take him to show where she's sitting, and he tells me to wait at her stand. They're having an argument for maybe about 5 minutes. I don't really remember. They're not shouting or anything, but they do raise their voices from time to time. After they finish talking, the principal comes back to me with €2 she owed us. He then says, It was really hard to convince her that this isn't a school project, but I think she believed me in the end. He then hands each of us €5 out of his own wallet and says, Because you had to put up with her. Me and the girl smirk at each other, and we continue working. The entitled mother didn't apologise, and I didn't see her anymore. If this really happened, this is a really terrible thing to do to children that are trying to, enjoy themselves, make a little bit of money in the school, just put on something for the parents. They really didn't have to put up with this kind of entitled parent. And to say that she deserves it for free because that her son gets straight A's, I don't think this person was right in the head. Our last story comes from Blitzboy01, entitled Mother Threw My Puppy and Injured Him. I still grit my teeth when I think about this woman and her child. So, some backstory. I recently got a puppy. He's a rat terrier chihuahua mix. If you want a visual, think of a bat. He couldn't be left at home alone since I didn't trust my dogs at home with him yet. So it was Christmas time, and time to buy gifts for people. I realised I haven't bought gifts for my friends and family, so I called the store and asked if I could bring my puppy with me. Most of the time it's alright, but when it's not, I usually drop him off at a friend's. The store said that I could bring him, and I took him with me. I had him in a harness where it had a handle, and in an emergency I could grab the handle and pull him up into my arms. I started browsing the candy and glanced at brands and stuff. I hear a child scream loudly. The scream was so loud that it actually scared me and my dog. The child runs up to my dog, and to keep the child away, I reached down and pulled the dog harness up into my arms and said, "Oh no, sweetie, he's too nervous right now." The child started crying loudly, and of course, here comes the parent. "Are you making my child cry?" "I'm sorry, your kid frightened my dog, and he's just a puppy." "It's a dog. Put the dog down and let my son play with it." "No, I can't do that, I'm sorry." I turned to walk away as I didn't want the fight to escalate, but the entitled parent grabbed my shoulder hard and spun me around. "Give me the dog." The entitled parent ripped my dog from me and shockingly threw him on the floor. He yelped loudly as he hit the ground pretty hard. The entitled child grabbed him right away. "What the F is wrong with you?" I pushed the entitled parent out of the way and took my dog away from the entitled child. The entitled parent didn't like that, but I wasn't about to let her throw my dog around. "Put the dog down. It doesn't feel anything." "Are you joking?" "No, put the dog down. Give it here." She again reached for my dog, but I pushed her away and gave her a nasty look. "You crazy bee, get away." At this point, 2 security personnel heard the commotion and came down the aisle. The entitled parent grabbed her entitled child and ran off. One of the security guards ran after them. The other one questioned me on the events that took place. I explained the situation. They remembered being informed of the call into the store about me bringing my dog. I put the dog back down, but he started limping. Right as I noticed, I left straight away and went to the vet. They said that he had dislocated his back leg. He has a condition in his back leg that usually is only seen in older chihuahuas, but the injury caused it in him as a puppy. I know people are going to ask what happened to the parent. She ended up paying for the vet visit. After she threw my dog at the ground, like, who the F does that? Wow, this one really got my blood boiling. Like, what kind of person takes a poor little puppy and just throws it against the ground and thinks that it doesn't feel anything? Like, this person deserved so much worse than only having to pay for a vet visit. Well, after that last one, I think we're going to end the video here because my blood is boiling. Anyway, thank you very much for listening to this video or watching or whatever you did. I hope you have a great day. I have been your host on this journey into entitled parents. My name is Nornify, and I'll see you on the next video.